Order. I think we have a request for change. So after D1, the roadmap update, we're going to go straight to hear about the business tax amnesty. Is that right? Yes. Do we need a motion for that? Can I get a motion to change that? All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. Passes. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Honorable Mayor, members of the committee and public, and city staff. I know he's on his way. Reggie here. Vice Mayor, Honorable Vice Mayor. Reggie Nair, Smart City Manager for Office of Civic Innovation. Joining me in the box is my colleague Eric Jensen, who's our Small Wonders Manager. Kip is unable to attend due to his attendance with the COVID-19 response, and then Dolan is out, so I'll be leading this committee. So just an overview of the agenda, which includes the usual Smart City Roadmap update, also an update on the business tax amnesty solution, and an update on the 2020 to 2022 Innovation and Technology Strategic Plan. In particular, we wanted to share these updates to tell a few stories about multiplication. We know that this next chapter of San Jose is about our shared purpose, that San Jose should be a valley of opportunity, and that San Jose is a city in transition. To successfully navigate this transition, we need people, process, and technology, and to be our own multipliers. Each of these updates show how we are navigating by using people, process, and technology and as core assets and for strategic advantage. So I will begin the Smart City update, Smart City Roadmap update. All right. Oops, thank you. All right, so keep going. So just a reminder to the members of the committee and public, exactly 1 year ago today, we presented our baseline of high priority projects back in March 2019. So here we are with the current status for a month of March 2020. The first one is integrated permitting and development transformation. This one moved from green to yellow. Primarily, there's been a scheduled delay due to staffing and vendor onboarding. So it took a little bit longer than anticipated. And then further time was required in order to handle the complexity of the deployment for the electronic plan review and the new public portal, San Jose permits. But the Executive Steering Committee have a really good planned path forward to meet these milestones. The second project that's circled is FirstNet deployment, which moved from red to green. Primarily now there is staffing available to help support the deployment of the next phase of work, and a new schedule has been established. Lastly is the Advanced Cybersecurity Products and Service RFP. This is a change from green to yellow, primarily because additional time was needed to finalize the contracts and onboard the vendors. So reflecting on our progress for the month of March, as you can see, we have a slight decrease on the green status projects, but using these bar charts has been helpful in bringing us awareness on our progress and also addressing to take action where necessary to minimize surprises. Note that the projects that are currently red or yellow had several dependencies that either required procurement support to finalize for contractual obligations, integrating new technology and making sure that it's tested, and then also hiring staff, particularly those with specialized expertise. So these status updates have been helpful to raise the awareness and address these roadblocks as soon as possible. So the next slide, I'll highlight the red status project that we have to date. So San Jose, now changing to San Jose 311, is currently red because the team is going to council. They have a path forward with the project in April to seek approval for the implementation of the language translation. Currently, this is a 3-month delay. So now I'm going to be passing the mic to my colleague Eric Jensen, Small Wonders Manager, to give the update.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, community members, members of the public, and city staff. My name is Eric Jensen in the Office of Civic Innovation. For the current cohort of pilots, we are enthusiastic about the number and quality of applications we've received over the last couple of months. Thanks to the efforts of the team, Modi, and City Innovation for the outreach that we did through social media and the press conference that we did in December for the launch of the RFPs for these projects. We are currently in proposal evaluation phase, which will result in partner selection for each of these projects to power the pilot. We should have these selected by the end of March, and I'll be enthusiastic to come back in April to show who we picked and the results of the evaluation phase. In conjunction with 3 of the Unleash Your Geek projects, we have launched San Jose's first ever Innovation Learning Lab in partnership with human resources and civic makers. The Learning Lab matches cross-departmental city staff with the Unleash Your Geek challenges and their selected startup to power and support the pilots over the duration of their execution. The Learning Lab also recognizes that in order for San Jose to be an effective partner for a startup, we have to have a dedicated team that is equipped with an innovation skill set. And the Innovation Learning Lab is our method to equip those people with a highly desirable skill set that they can also take back to their departments post-launch. In terms of what this timeline looks like, we've aligned it with the Unleash Your Geek pilots so that people will receive this type of training just in time over the course of the pilots that we're conducting. These sessions include highly desirable skill sets such as agile methodologies, Tech 101, data and privacy, all important concepts to introduce through these technology tests, and also to equip people to run the project successfully. I'll now pass the mic back to Regina.
Thank you, Eric. So continuing our tradition on Green Spotlight series, I want to highlight the good and innovative work that our city teams are doing. So today I want to recognize the Business Tax Amnesty team, who's been led by Rick Bruno in Finance Department. And later today you'll hear their presentation more in detail. But just wanted to highlight specific team members. So looking at the photo from left to right, Rick Bruno is the Deputy Director of Finance with oversight of the Business Tax Program. He has been designated as the department's product owner and engaged in weekly status meetings. And as a product owner, Rick was empowered to make decisions and led to a successful delivery of the project within scope, schedule, and budget. Swati Ganesh is the project manager within the IT department and was designated the project manager for this business tax amnesty solution. Swati drove the project plan and was instrumental in developing and monitoring project deliverables to ensure the team stayed on track. She also led the development of executive steering committee meeting presentations. Also instrumental were Eric Warners, Valerie Escoval, Thuy Nguyen, and Chris Domain were the assigned finance department subject matter experts for this project. Their expertise was invaluable in establishing the requirements, business tax logic, and rules, and thoroughly tested the prototype releases. Krishna Sastry and Topher Tamzon were the technical leads on the project and provided the necessary support to integrate information from business tax amnesty solution to back office billing systems. Most importantly, Topher developed a series of code and scripts that automated the customer account setups, service level assignment, and billing processes. So previously, these steps, as you will hear later today, were manually input by finance department staff and required a lot of staff time to complete. Now the back office processes for setting up the new customer and billings are highly automated. So just showing the complexities of dealing with these types of projects, no small feat. So that concludes our presentation, so I'm open to questions.
All right, we'll go to public comment. Mr. Beekman.
Hello, thank you. I wanted to, with your grid that you showed, I wanted to hope that you guys are working on the traffic signal flow light issue. Thank you that you're trying to make that more accountable at this time. It was a bit unclear last week of priorities, and you're trying to make that up. About the UAS drone program, thank you for actually having a policy created after 5 years now. It's going to take some work, and I hope you're open to that work, to hear good suggestions and ideas. Thank you. Thank you overall for considering the Surveillance and Technology Ordinance as part of your priority setting this year. I hope you will be considering how guidelines and policy examples from the Surveillance and Tech Ordinance can work in a number of ways. Vision Zero and IoT are just a few examples of what can become a more open, shared process between local governments and everyday community with accountability in tech. With this accountability in tech, it can create a better organization. Better accountability in tech working together can create better organization, better community practice, democratic practices, trust, and community harmony. It would be of much help to introduce local small startups with well-defined open guidelines, good communication and understandings by the entire community. From this, it can create an important flexibility to not have to continuously and fully rely on bulky, large corporate models you are currently using to align yourselves in how to prepare for the future. The recent paper ballot fiasco in Santa Clara County a few days ago, I would like to talk about further. And your work as a government, I hope you can learn to talk with the community much more about. It's enjoyable, it's fun. Let's make it that way. We can do it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis?
Thank you. Can we go back to the roadmap? Thank you. Well, first, I just wanted to mention, looking from March 2019 to March 2020, huge difference, a lot of progress. So that's awesome, and I feel like I'm nitpicking as a result of that. But our integrated permitting, I think, was green last time, and you had mentioned it's gone to yellow and that there's schedule delays. Can you give us a little more detail about that? Because that project is already well behind what we had originally intended for it, and so that one is one that will tweak me if it's behind again.
So I'll ask Matt Lush to come down to give more details about that project.
Good afternoon, Matt Lush, Assistant Director of Public Works. Some of the things as they transitioned in, so I'm not product owner anymore on the project, and the product owner was not able to come this afternoon. And so he and I talked, and we keep fairly close. Some of the things as they transition in the new year, we've brought on new staff on the transformation team. And so there was a little misjudgment, I think, as to how quickly we could cycle over that team and then cycle on some of the new technology. We did massive technology efforts last time. There's new efforts this year, and so that transition has led for a little bit of lag. And just being openly candid on it, we just wanted to make sure that it was yellow, that there are some headline risks on those. And so those are some of the issues. It was bringing on new staff onto the transformation team, their ability to adopt to the program that the transformation team has been working on, and the new technology efforts that they're engaging in. They're working on scheduling to see how closely we can get those back onto a committed schedule that we said for 2020. There's likely not blasting like years, but it might be several months beyond where we had initially said that they would be.
Why was there transition in the team? Were there transitions out of city employment, or why would there be transitions in the team?
So the transformation team, one, it's a lot of heavy effort on some of those. We were pulling people off the line of their day work on either the planners or building inspector, building engineers or public works staff to be on the transformation team. And then because it was a good time to see, are people ready to cycle off and go back to their core work and then bring new people on. One, it's a good learning opportunity for them to learn some different techniques in project delivery. And so there is a core that retained. So Alex Powell is the current project owner. He was on the team before, so there was a good natural transition there. But there was enough there that we're probably a month or two from where we had hoped from at the very beginning.
Okay, will there be, again, this is a very delayed project already, and will there be other transitions to the team, and are there lessons learned from this transition that will prevent a schedule impact next time?
I think so, and also, I mean, as from where the IPS, as it was touted at the very beginning, had a distinct scope that was a little different than what the team is endeavoring to do now with all of the data review and kind of process improvements. That wasn't even part of it, so the team has taken on a much bigger breadth than they were before. And so to compare it exactly to the way the thing was announced 2.5 years ago, a lot of the core technology pieces are still happening. Amanda upgrade, electronic plan review, a new public portal, all those things are still on track to happen. And many of them will happen in 2020. They might not happen at the month that we said. It might be a couple months later here or there. But yes, there's definitively learning lessons to how we transition staff, maybe not as many as we did. It wasn't a wholesale changeover of the staff. And Alex and I still get to chat frequently on the opportunity.
Okay, how is it going with the vendor? Because that was another point of...
I'm sorry?
How is it going with the vendor? That was another
Oh.
point of...
So part of it is, I'm sorry, there's different vendors involved
Difficulty
now.
before.
Electronic plan review is a different vendor than was the Amanda upgrade, which is the Caliterra. So again, I think many of the vendor relationships have improved. They're not always bubblegums and roses, and so, but working largely with the electronic plan review, it's a different vendor. We're kicking those things off, and things are going fairly well there. Whether it's the public portal, it's some of the same characters that were there before, and things are going along fairly well there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Vice Mayor Jones.
Yes, I actually just have a quick question, or actually a request. When we have changes, like for the integrated permitting or the FirstNet deployment or any of the changes, it would be great if you provide a quick summary like you did with the My San Jose. So that we could just
added on that back, so on this, on here?
Exactly.
So just add the yellow. Okay, we can make that edit.
And that probably would have answered some of Councilmember
Some of these
Davis's questions.
Sure. Okay.
Ahead of time. And so that would be a great upgrade if we could
Okay.
have that.
Will do.
And that was it. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that presentation.
Thank you.
All right, can we get a motion? Motion to approve. All in favor? Aye. And it passes. All right, moving on.
All right, thank you very much. As the next team transitions over, so our next update is the business tax amnesty solution. To their credit, the team recognized that any increase in user volume typically leads to a disproportionate decrease in user experience. This is quite unfortunate multiplication. By anticipating an increase in volume for the business tax amnesty program with lots of phone calls, long lines at City Hall, and high likelihood of latency, we knew that technology could play a role to instead improve the user experience to understand increasing volumes. This multiplication is much better. To provide this update, we welcome to the box Lisa Tatiano, Assistant Director of Finance. She was telling me how to pronounce her last name. Rick Bruno, a Deputy Director of Finance, as Chris Domain, Program Manager in Finance. So Lisa, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Rajani. The Finance Department is very excited to provide status on the business tax amnesty solution. I would like to thank staff from the Finance, IT, and Civic Innovation departments and their commitment to this effort. The Finance team worked closely with IT department staff to develop and deliver an online portal that supported the city's business tax amnesty program. You will see in this presentation that this highly collaborative effort resulted in a much improved customer experience for San Jose businesses and residents that could have been frustrating and time-consuming. Rick demonstrated solid leadership with this deliverable, so I'll hand it off to Rick and his team.
Green arrow. No, you're doing the red. I'm hitting green. Oh, that's the other presentation. There we go. Thank you. So, Rick Bruno, Deputy Director in Finance. So pictured here is the city's core team members that made this project a success. From left to right, I am very proud to have led this team and to share the results from the commitment and innovative ideas that this team put forth. Second from the left, Swati served as our project manager and kept us on track with our project plan. She played an instrumental role in keeping us on schedule. Next, Eric, Valerie, Twee, and Chris served as the department subject matter experts and were responsible for establishing the requirements and testing the solution. Their commitment and dedication to testing and retesting the solution led to a very robust product. Christian and Topher served as the technical leads on the project, with Topher leading the integration processes. The code he developed vastly improved the time it takes the finance department to set up a customer account and complete the billing processes. Additionally, the team was supported by the finance department's banking and payment processing teams, the IT department's network team, and last but not least, the executive steering committee, which was comprised of Rob Lloyd, Julia Cooper, Jerry Dreesen, and Lisa Titano. Our vendor partner, Citybase, played a critical role in delivering the solution. Citybase team was led by Aaron Jancic, Cole Davis, and Nabitha Matthew, with additional back office support from their product development teams. The vendor performed a thorough analysis of our requirements and suggested solutions based on our objectives and key results. It was through an iterative process that we were successful in developing and delivering our solution on time, within budget, and within scope. So before we dive into some of the specifics of the software solution, it's important to recap the background of the Business Tax Amnesty Program and why it is important to, one, complete an amnesty program at this time, and two, have a solution like this in place. So for starters, what is a business tax amnesty solution? In August of 2019, the council approved this program. It's a limited time opportunity for businesses to pay past due taxes in exchange for forgiveness of penalties and interest. It's a 6-month program that began on October 1st, 2019, and will end at the end of this month. Why now? So there's 3 reasons why this was an important initiative for us to do now. Most importantly, the business tax modernization measure that was passed in 2016 and became effective in July 1st, 2017, drastically changed the tax structure, the rates, and the base for which business tax applies to. And so it was important for us to run this campaign so that any businesses that need to come into compliance with our code could come into compliance with it. We also made a budget commitment to generate $1 million in additional revenue. And thirdly, we are planning to do field reviews following the campaign to ensure the compliance with our business tax system. So this slide compares the experience of a past amnesty program with that of the current amnesty program. As you can see, in past amnesty programs, when we've done this, there was an online registration process. There weren't online payments availability. Online exemptions were not an option. And so this resulted in a disjointed registration and payment process, as well as long lines, both in City Hall as well as in our phone volume and our queues. There was long wait times for that. So going into this project, we knew it was very important to have an online presence and to have the ability for businesses to register online, to make payments online, to file for exemptions online. We took it a step further and we implemented automated phone payments for those customers, for our existing customers, so they wouldn't get caught up in some of the increased traffic and volume of the amnesty program. They can go on, they could call us and go through our automated phone payment system. And we also were able to automate some of our back-end processes to streamline how quickly we can set up a customer's account, bill it, and receive payments. And then last but not least, we deployed some self-service computers in the first floor lobby within City Hall for customers that needed to to register in person. So next I'll cover the objectives and the timeline of the software that we implemented. So based on our experience from past Amnesty programs, we placed a high premium on automating the registration and payment processes prior to launching the current Amnesty program. Our objectives were simple. We wanted an efficient, organized, and convenient method for businesses to submit applications, for the system to calculate taxes and fees owed in real time, and to integrate processing of online payments into a single interaction with the city. We achieved this objective and delivered a product ready for production in less than a year from start to finish. As you can see from the timeline, we moved quickly on this project to be ready for the official launch of the Amnesty program on October 1st, 2019. This timeline shows the product broken down into 3 phases. The first phase was the RFP evaluation and award process. We took an outcome-based approach to this procurement. For us, it was very important to receive a viable product in a short amount of time. We weren't so much interested in setting out all the requirements that needed to be established. We were really interested in the outcome and having a product that can be set up quickly. As part of the procurement evaluation process, we invited vendors to present a mock-up of the product that they would develop for us, or something similar that they could tailor to satisfy our objectives. It was through this process that we decided to work with Citybase. They had a platform that we can envision being able to use. Between February and September, our teams worked together to develop, test, and go live with the business tax amnesty solution. This was not an easy considering the complexities of our tax structure and the endless combinations of taxes, business improvement district fees, penalties, and interests. Finally, after going live with the system, we entered into the eligibility period to apply for the amnesty. So this is when businesses can come forward and benefit from the program. The 6-month program is nearing an end, and the software has proven to be so valuable in delivering a user-friendly experience. While the program is performing as expected in terms of volume of businesses benefiting from the program, we are not seeing the operational impacts that we experienced in prior amnesty programs, that being long lines in person and in the queue. So at this point, I want to call out the fact that we received an award, and next month, the city will be recognized at the Smart Cities Connect conference in Denver, Colorado. The Smart 50 Awards recognizes 50 global smart city projects annually, honoring the most innovative and influential work. Business Tax Amnesty Solution will be awarded in the category of digital transformation. At this point, I'll turn it over to Chris to give us a demonstration of the solution.
Hi, so demonstration number 1, we're going to show you the business tax registration and online payments. It's going to show you also the adaptable workflow and the calculation of current and past due amounts. First of all, you go to CSJ website. Okay. Go to the business tax registration. You select your type of business. You provide your ownership information, any type of ownership agent details. Then in this section, you incorporate your business information, what type of business. You insert your main location address. It also asks you if you have additional locations. You confirm your business address as well. It does also ask you if your mailing address is the same as your business address. Then you also have the billing information, which will show the number of owners and number of employees. It goes by tax year there as well. Then it also asks you if you have any, if you're located outside the city. This particular section is for regulatory permits, is prompting you to answer particular questions in reference to that. Okay, this is your exemption page. It gives you different types of programs. Well, I was going to if you want to apply for it, you go to that particular area. This is your digital signature. You declare this information is good. Also, if you want City of San Jose information, this is the summary of your registration process. You are allowed to edit by section if you need to make changes. This page shows the summary of what your tax amount is by year. Being that we're under the Amnesty program, it also shows you the discount of what you're going to be able to receive, and it gives you a grand total. After you submit this, it goes directly into our payment portion. We're going to choose to use a bank account information. You put your information in there, routing number, account number. Once that's completed, it goes to a summary page, which you make sure the information is correct, and you click make your payment. And here's your summary confirmation in reference to the payment. And this concludes the first part of the demonstration. Okay, on demonstration number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up on the process towards the end of the registration workflow to apply for the exemption process. Yep. Okay, once again, this goes to the exemption, gives you a summary of all the different types of exemption programs that we have. This is your digital signature I-certified. Also, once again, if you want information from the City of San Jose. The summary page, which allows you to edit your registration form by section. There's your account number that the system provides. And then we're moving on to the exemption site, in which you would need to put your account number information in there. The various types of exemptions that exist there, we're going to go with, what was it? Okay, we're a charitable organization. With the charitable organization, you have to select the tax year in which you want to do it. You are a first-time applying, and at that point, you do have to supply the documentations that's going to support your charitable organization. Once you do that, you submit it. This is indicating that basically it still has to be reviewed before approval, and it does provide you a summary of this exemption request, based upon all the information you provided. You do need to sign. Once it is submitted, it's basically going to adaptable workflow in which our staff will review it to make sure that all the paperwork is done and it'll be approved or denied. Okay, the benefits of this is the user experience, a single transaction for a user registration and payment. It does improve the cash flow to the city. Customers can see the amount owed at time of registration due to the tax rate logic and rules built into the front end of the system. New online exemption request functionality built into the portal. Staff efficiency. automation of the registration process, which creates customer accounts, service agreements, and bills. Online case management tool allows customer service reps to track the exemption requests, statuses, and standardize communication with the customer. Security, enhanced PII and PCI compliance. The city's early adopter of PGP encryption technology. And lastly, revenue. We are on target to meet our revenue goal of $1 million and ongoing. New and ongoing, that is. Lessons learned. Keys to our success, there were clearly defined objectives and discipline around deadlines. Department product owner, from an executive level, involvement in the day-to-day discussions and decisions. Managed scope, reached minimum valuable product, iterate to optimize product process and features to go live. This concludes our presentation. We're going to give it back to Reggie.
Thanks, Chris. So we're open for questions right now.
Vice Mayor Jones.
Yeah, one quick question. You went over it pretty quickly, but was there a field where the business can request to receive information from the city? I thought I heard you mention that when you were going through the different fields.
That is correct, and that's some feedback that we had received from the Small Business Advisory Task Force probably more than a year ago when we met with you. So as we
that's why I keyed on it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yes. So there, I think there's three check boxes. One is related to receiving information in the case of an emergency, a city emergency. Can the city contact you? And the other one is related to promotional information that the city might want to release, and if they're interested in soliciting that. So that is one of the check boxes that's there.
Great. I appreciate that. And my next question is, do we have any data in terms of the success rate? So I don't know the total number of businesses that you reached out to, but what's the percentage of success rate in terms of responses and taxes paid?
Yeah, so we're quickly working to get our February month-end numbers completed. We don't have those yet, given we're still in the first week of March, but we do have numbers from October through January, and that shows that we have over 2,000 businesses have benefited from this program. About 1,500 of them are new accounts that had never registered with the city previously and now are registering with the city because of our Amnesty program. There's about 150 that had underreported. So given the change in the tax structure, they've come forward and updated their employee count numbers or updated the number of units that they own and rent. And then there's another 500 that were delinquent in paying their taxes and have come forward and paid the principal amount of tax that's owed without having to pay penalty and interest. So through January, over 2,000 businesses have benefited from this, and we're continuing to see solid numbers in terms of those applying for Amnesty.
Okay. And what was the total universe of businesses that that you reached out to directly?
So in terms of our direct we had a pretty robust communication plan and outreach plan. It was everything you might have seen, advertisements on VTA buses. You might have heard it on radio stations, newspapers. We kind of did some of that more general marketing, but then we also had some direct mailings that we sent out to 50,000?
It was like 51,000.
Approximately 50,000 letters that went out to potential business owners that were earning income and lived and were operating within San Jose.
Great. Thank you.
All right, no public comments. Can we get a motion to accept?
Move to approve?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved. On to D2.
Oh, thank you. All right, so moving to our last and final presentation. As the team starts to move their way down here, for the third agenda item, we would like to provide a project update on the IT strategic plan. closing out the last 3 years of IT Information Technology Department's strategic plan, we saw where we hit marks, where we missed, and lessons that we've learned. As the council has noted through the tech audit, there's clearly a need to look at our information technology service delivery model. We are extending this work for another year in Harvard, with Harvard to shape the strategic plan. The San Jose Smart City Vision correctly identifies the information technology as a strategic multiplier for our future, and we are happy to be on this journey together. So joining me in the box to provide this update is Rob Lloyd, our Chief Information Officer, and Jerry Drusen, Assistant Chief Information Officer. So Rob, take it away.
Good afternoon, Committee Chair, Vice Mayor, member of the committee. Again, Rob Lloyd, again, CIO for the city, along with Jerry Drusen, our Assistant CIO. We're actually quite happy to be here today because this is a continuation of a journey that we engaged with each other on almost 4 years ago now. And it represents the work of literally hundreds of smart and committed civic technologists and public servants. And I'm proud to, and really humbled to actually represent their efforts here today. So along that journey, we started off actually with a clear vision, and that being, recalling back to 2016, the journey began with City Council. And City Council said that there's a direction to transform and use innovation and technology as a strategic tool. We want a culture that represents that. And we need to take technology from its back office roots and create something new and different. So council and the mayor said we're going to have a San Jose Smart City Vision based on 5 points, and one being the user-friendly city, a safe city, an inclusive city, a demonstration city that we're going to actually test things and have that Silicon Valley DNA, as well as a sustainable city. And I'll just call this out quickly, is these have stood up well over the course of time. Council got it right. And from the services that we're going to create, we envisioned a San Jose that needed and deserved these technology solutions and this different approach. And defining those important aspects also allowed us to set our compass, where we said if we're going to understand what a smart city is for San Jose, the technology, the tools, how it's powered by people, how we're going to use information and data differently, we're going to take a concerted approach that's going to reach across departments and treat this as a whole organizational effort. And on the other end of that, we were going to champion the customer. We are going to be an organization that learns through data, and we're going to be an organization that evolves over time. And so that we could say from the beginning of that journey to the end of the journey, we would go from a city where customer experience is often a complaint, that the processes are inefficient and people are exhausted and the technologies are outdated. And we want to have a lot of adjectives on the other end of this journey where people say things like delightful and agile, and that it's enabled and people are engaged. And hopefully we've come a lot farther to that end. And we're going to go through the progress that we made along that journey together and call out some of those wins, some of those lessons learned, as Reggie pointed out, and where we're going to go from here. So taking a look at the whole portfolio, there is the innovation effort where we challenge ourselves to do new and different things in a profound way. There's the execution and sustaining of our technology and innovation efforts. And there's also the small wonders where we try to learn and press and evolve ourselves through those experiences. This is really a report back on that center item of the three, which is the IT strategic plan. And everything in the center kind of revolves around that is if we do it and we learn it, then we want to nail it and scale it. And then the innovation culture is one that's going to self-perpetuate it. And along that effort, we said there's a lot of homework to do right at the beginning in 2016, and that was actually an assignment from council as well. Council said we are giving you direction to create that IT master plan, which became this IT strategic plan. And we laid out our methodology, and we said we're going to do a lot of assessment and see really where we are. We're going to say what are the strategies that give us the best bang for the buck and leverage the most resources we have, because the picture we see is never going to be one where San Jose has lots of riches that it can throw a lot of money and people at things. So if you can't be bigger, you have to be faster or smarter, and we're okay being faster and smarter. We're also going to talk about a lot of input, and we actually had almost 70 meetings with over 160 people, informing this plan from every director, their executive staff, the IT leadership group, members of the public. And then we're also going to take a look at that resourcing picture and say what actually gets us there. And one of the reasons why it became very important is we saw ourselves at the start of a hierarch curve, and not just a linear one, but a logarithmic one, because the technology was evolving from the old monolith servers, and then you had mobility kind of coming out. But we saw IoT and the proliferation of devices and the amount of continuous data on top of those devices as being a multiplier. If we did not start when we did, we didn't see when and how we could step into that evolution with any kind of grace. Though, to be very clear, when we did that assessment, we found a lot of symptoms of one of the themes that we've talked about over the years, which is tech debt. Debt is a useful tool. You use it when you have priorities that conflict, but the thing about debt is you always have to pay it off. And through that decade of deficits, we saw a lot of the technologies in the city really stop. And so when we looked at the portfolio, we saw lots of audit items indicating that failure to delivery, failure of reliability, and people could see a bit on the surface of some of those problems, and we want to be honest and upfront that those problems went a lot deeper in the organization. And so we talked about the audits that had accumulated. We talked about the project management lack of success. We talked about, even when I was doing my interview, I remember council member at the time, Jones, now vice mayor, said, how are you going to solve this hiring and vacancy issue that you have? And we said, all right, these are part of that mission. And along with that is how do we evolve out of the decade of deficits and meet your mission that you gave to us of making IT a strategic asset and partner? We also said, if we're going to do this, we're going to have a couple compass points in the sense of a couple metrics that at the end we'll know if we hit our marks or not, and we're going to triangulate using over the course of the next few years. And so when we did our first customer service survey, we found about 74% positive, which we marked as yellow. It's good, but we could do better. Project success rate wasn't so hot. So we took a look and over the about 3.5, almost 4 years of investments by the city, we found that we had only properly delivered one that had at least 2 of 3 of on time, on scope, and on budget. We added a fourth variable, which is, did it deliver business value in the eyes of the department? But we said if we've consistently hit less than 5% success over a number of years, that's a structural problem. We're going to structurally address it. IT reliability was at 99.1%. We said, the industry mark is 99.9 and above, so we had to increase that. Employee engagement was the bottom 8th percentile. It was the worst IT department that we could find in the Gallup survey. Nationally, and it was also the city's worst engagement score. So we said, obviously, there's some areas to improve there, and the message we had for our team is we have a lot of smart, committed people. This isn't us, so how are we going to invest in ourselves and take care of ourselves that the engagement score is going to rise? And we also said it was going to be a hard journey because that culture is often the hardest and the slowest to change. IT is staffed and resourced at an 8 to 5 level. It's the only time I've ever run an IT department that wasn't 24/7. And we said we are going to have to build our environment to be that 24/7. Core IT, this is called out in the city auditor's annual services report. It's about 1.2% of the general fund, and the benchmark is usually around 2 to 3.5% for stable organizations, not high innovation organizations. Alarmingly, and this one fits into the IT reliability, is we looked at all software and hardware in the city and said that over 71% were actually end of life and end of support. So the city was really running on zombie technology, and we had to kind of work our way up through that, and that's what you'll see is a lot of the work that we've done. And then again, the vacant IT positions, we had maintained a 37% vacancy rate for almost 4 years, and you can't really meet your mission with a small staff if you have that kind of vacancy rate. The SWOT analysis, I'll just key in on a couple here. When you don't have riches, we did say on the opportunity side, we're going to make a lot of ground based on strategic partnerships. We're going to be the best IT department and innovation group in the country at partnering with private and nonprofit and other cities, because we're going to learn and evolve most quickly through that methodology. We said a lot of strengths existed because we had a stable economy. We had turned into positive territory. There was some budget and resource to allocate. We had that magic moment in time where council said this is a priority, and you made it so, and you've made it so in each budget session. And then we also said the weaknesses and threats were pretty clear. And on the threat side, we actually predicted in 2018 and 2019 that there'd be a massive increase in cybersecurity and cybercrime occurrences against local government. And unfortunately, that's true because in 2019, the average was at least two cities and counties per week went down to some kind of cyber violation. Unfortunately, we were accurate about that, but we moved in time to head some of that off for the city, or at least to prepare it well enough that we have some basic guards, and we're going to keep on evolving that program. The weaknesses, they're much what we talked about is tech debt, the project execution, the uncoordinated nature of IT is you had a lot of silos and segments, and those investments, you're basically buying one of everything because the coordination and use of leverage systems across departments was a mitigating circumstance. It wasn't the mode, it was the exception. So as we set our strategies, kind of the message I have for people is if you talk at its core about this journey is we're going to get brilliant at the basics and healthy. We're going to choose a couple races that we're going to win because council and the city manager's office said those are important to the organization. And then we're going to change the game. We're going to try things and do things in ways that others don't, but it's going to work here and it's going to fit our organization. And while you don't have to go serially left to right, the healthier you are, the more games that you win that are important to you, the more transformative you can be. But really that crawl, walk, run kind of parable is one that depicts this first IT strategic plan in the city's history. We've really focused a lot on getting out of the tech debt. And then based on the priorities that have been set, we've worked really hard to get there. And I have to give a ton of credit to the organization because what we said this is going to feel like is we're going to run 13 to 15 years worth of technology stagnation to pay it off in 3 to 5 years. And that's going to be intense. It's going to be hard. And we're going to see who can run at that pace. But that really always comes back down to the people. And we're going to see and really rely on the people who shine and be grateful for them. And that really has been part of that story. From the technology language that we use, a lot of times in organizations, you see us talk about the tech. And one of the challenges that we defined for ourselves as part of this journey was to stop doing that. You can talk about any kind of product of feed, integration, but really when it comes down to everything, you have to flip the script and talk about how are we going to have technologies that help us communicate and collaborate? How are we going to control our environment better, faster, cheaper? How are we going to use data to inform our decision making? How are we going to use business automation to make everyone's job easier so they can focus on the customer and better service? And all the technology comes down to making those things better and easier. And then all throughout that journey is the security. And security was going to be something you would hear us say over and over again because it had been neglected as part of the vendor community, the product community, and the projects because it just wasn't as important in the past. The risks were lower. And with that high-risk environment, we said that's going to be a refrain that you're going to hear throughout this. In that, if you'd say it's powered by people, we proposed an organizational blueprint of if this is all going to be true, what are the roles and responsibilities and skills that we're going to need? And we laid out this map. And we talked about a business solution strategy where we said if we are resource constrained, we are going to avoid things like custom development because those take a lot of money, have the most risk, and take a lot of money long term to sustain. So we're going to have a business solution strategy that really is off the shelf, platform driven, and compress the custom things that are just items that are so unique to us that we have really no other choice. And we also said we're going to challenge ourselves to be vetted. So we assembled an IT advisory board of top executives from profit, venture firms, from nonprofits, and we asked them, hammer at us. We have this plan, we have this analysis, we want you to do some QA on us. And their feedback was very clear. They said, it's an excellent assessment. The original 21 goals that I had, they said, you're being ridiculous, Rob. And they said, from your resource level, you're going to have to get down to those essential few. And that was that feedback of brutal honesty, is you have to match your mission to what you're saying you're willing to invest. And then the cybersecurity read that we had, they all agreed. And so the forced prioritization, embracing as a service, being clear that the people part was going to be extremely hard, and you're going to have a small portion of people, the one tail of the curve, that are never going to be on board. You're going to have another tail where you're going to see them shine and really embrace this and be leaders. And you're going to have the bulk of the curve, which is like, I'll go along for the ride. But you could not ignore the maturity and the path that a lot of technical people, a lot of leaders, a lot of managers were going to have to go through in this journey. And then they also talked about the engagement, is how we were approaching tapping employees, tapping private sector, tapping partners, tapping other governments. They said that is a good leverage point. So you're going to be able to use that, and that's a good centerpiece to your strategy. And with that, when we reached out across the entire organization, talked with council, talked with city manager's office, we came up with this game board. So this is everything we said at the beginning we were going to deliver by the end. And we had a couple reds that we knew the projects were in jeopardy and we're going to come in on and try to recover. We also had a bulk, as you see, the modernize and execute, where we said that's the key to our tech debt, so we're going to have a lot there. We also have the gift of a lot of audits that we were going to address, and so that gift was going to be one that we tried to return. But you'll see how we've made progress on those. And we're very clear about those metrics and including them as the team, is if we're going to have high customer satisfaction, high engagement, high trust values, and if you look at those team percentages and performance metrics, those are all trust measures. Does the city trust us to invest in IT projects that will deliver them? Does it trust us to give them services that make them happy and capable? Is it a trust thing where you invest in our positions and we fill them and they're productive? So we're going to get to the other end of this game board with a lot of hopefully good stories to tell. And oops, on the right side, sorry, there's a compression issue on the formatting. But the other thing is, if you can have a clear mission, you can state it clearly and simply. And this is all of that strategic plan condensed down to one slide. And the strategic directions are 1 through 5, and we had direction from council and city manager's office to get done the items under 6, because those you said were a priority. And that's how we map this out, and we've looked at this at every quarter and every year as we've set MPPs, our personal performance plans, our annual IT strategic plan, and updated the IT strategic plan as a whole. So the results after 3 years. I'd have some drums rolling, but I don't. On the legend here, this is the organizational blueprint that we proposed. The squares are ones where we actually have positions. The ovalish ones are ones where we didn't quite get the resources to fill those holes, and those are things that we'll still want to invest in the future because they were validated over the course of this last 3 years. But you can see those are service sets and capabilities that the organization continues to say are important to it. And one of the things about San Jose that we hear from peers who marvel at how lean we are, yet if you come into the city of San Jose, you wouldn't notice this is anything different from San Francisco or Charlotte or others, or Seattle, that have quite large budgets. And one of the things that you see is what we sacrifice is depth. And in this map, you can see where we are 1 deep or even 0 deep. And we try to just leverage other people and smart people to make things happen nonetheless. And on that game board, we did all of these things. I'll have you notice there's a row that we called new. And we do practice what we call agile strategic planning, is we set the plan and then we stay flexible if the city's priorities evolve over the course of the plan. Doesn't mean the things we put in the plan stop being important. It just means that over the course of time, other things came up. So say a flood or power safety or public safety power shutoff. Other projects like IPS or the Amanda system, integrated permitting system. Those sometimes come in, and we're okay with that, and we'll flex around it. The other thing is on the left side of the things that are still left, anything where you see a parentheses N, those are also all new. So if you look at the game board from previously, we've got almost all of it done with just a couple still hanging out. I'll call your attention out to the integrated permitting system is one of the big things that we added. The use of the open data environment, that became more relevant and more important. The importance of patching because of cybersecurity, the 2 reds you see in the middle, that's something where Marcelo, our Chief Information Security Officer, and I have said, hygiene is so critical to our security. We're going to actually declare these things as especially important because we see them as being necessary to protect the city. So we're going to insert those and work with departments to cover those needs. The infrastructure refresh took a bit longer to get through procurement and contracting. We have that in gear now. We have the cybersecurity RFP. It was a very different and innovative RFP, so that one's taken more time as well. And we'll get to some of the things that we're going to extend out. The last thing I'll call your attention to is the Q row at the very bottom. We also got some feedback that there's more out there that people would like IT's help with. So we went ahead and marked those and said, as we activate those, we'll have a prioritization discussion with the city and through civic innovation. To look at a different way, what did we do over the last 3 years? So the human resources information system, the payroll system, the talent management system have all been upgraded and migrated. We implemented My San Jose, the CRM, now San Jose 311, as council directed, put in a new workers' comp system, and then moved it to a third party, implemented the new utility billing system, which handles about $240 million of revenue each year, implemented a new revenue management system, a new treasury management system, got compliant with card handling, so we updated our stuff there. The new budget system is active, but there's still more to do on that one. Did a major upgrade to our financial system. We helped implement the new city website, got Amanda 7 up and running with the PBC&E department, stood up the San Jose Clean Energy Department and got their customer handling components well in good operating order with them. The three that are still hanging out there that we want to finish over the course of 2020 is the infrastructure modernization and the cybersecurity advanced services RFP, as well as the business process automation item, which is taking us a little longer to procure as well, but it's, I think, about to go into notice of intent to award. It is. Yep. And then the business tax system, we said we're going to pause that and come back to it because tax amnesty took a higher priority because of the revenue influence of that, and we were unable to recover the old project, so we canceled it. But we have that one still on our list to come back to at the end of March to say, where do we want to go with this one? Also on that gift of audits that we had, we said we had over 40 items when we started this, and council said, you need to solve your audits, Rob, and said, absolutely. And then right after that, we got 13 more. So that was the external audit. And we also had a couple council priorities that council said, hey, can you handle this while you're at it? And so where did we go is on the IT general controls, we completed 7, still have 4 in progress that we're hoping to finish by the middle of this year. We completely closed the customer call handling audit. We completely closed the tech deployments audit, the first one. We completely closed the external audit of financial statements. Mobile devices is actually still in progress because of FirstNet. We're going to be modifying that, and if we had finished it, we would have had to change it right away. So we said we're going to put a couple of these on pause. The 911, 311 call handling, you'll hear on March 19th and then forward to council from there refer to, but we've got 4 completed of the 9 that are IT related, and of the entire effort between police, fire, and IT, there's more to report there. That I'll save that wonderful story for when we come to you in whole. And then the very new tech deployments audit, this one we've hired the division manager for our city portfolio products projects office, and we'll be addressing these audit items here in the near future. And I'm happy to say that IT has no audits in the work plan for this year, so we'll be able to hopefully close almost all of these out. So where did we end up in terms of those metrics we said were so important? So in customer satisfaction, we went from 74% to 86%. Project success rate, as of this was 2 weeks ago, we're at 81% success on the projects that we take on. And then IT reliability, we're getting there, and we're close to 99.6, so we're not quite green, but we're yellow there and heading in the right direction. We tripled our engagement score, but our goal was actually get to the 50th percentile, so 2 standard deviations of improvement. This one's proving harder than we would have liked to admit, but we did say culture was hard to change. We have a lot of effort around this. We've partnered with, as you know, Gallup. We also brought in Berkeley to help us identify more specific goals and to engage better our management line in our department to be part of the solution and to help us get to a coaching, mentoring type of a culture rather than just a managed down task type culture. Responsive services, we're still at as a normal business hours. Budget for IT of general fund went from a little over 1% to 2%. Expired hardware, we're down to 47%, but as we do the infrastructure refresh project, this will get down to less than 20%. So we're nearly to goal on this one. And vacant IT positions, we actually are at 14% right now, which is actually our worst in the last 3 years. So we've been at 9 to 12%, but we got a bunch of new positions related to the C3PO, and we did a lot of extra hard hiring. But we're with that cluster of 10 new positions, it actually caused our vacancy rate to pop up. but for all the right reasons. We'll take that increased vacancy rate for a temporary period if new positions are coming with it. So I'm happy to say we've filled them quickly, but we still have more to do. And so when we talked about partnerships, when we started this journey, these are all the partners we've worked with over the last 3 years on everything from community engagement through data to that infrastructure refresh and taking a hardware environment that our new deputy CIO from the banking industry says is more advanced than we use in banking, to the CRM solution that a lot of other communities have asked us, how do you directly integrate your work requests rather than spraying emails around your organization, to Google.org, where we're taking a data science and engineering approach to solving the 911-311 problem. Bloomberg Philanthropies, Facebook Terragraph, Actros, our Cybersecurity Response Alliance, SmartWave on the growth of community inclusion networks. But these partnerships are very important to us because they show that we can be innovative, we can be fast and purposeful, and we can learn and then integrate these things into our organization with speed. And this is the proof. So third-party validation feels good, and this is a chance to celebrate our people. But over the course of the last 3 years, we went from never placing in the Digital Cities Awards, and we had applied only periodically, to 3 top 10s and number 2 in 2019, which I still think we should have been number 1. But State Scoop, we also got top smart cities communities and top cybersecurity leaders. IDC, we were the 2-time finalists and won number 1 for smart cities solutions and transportation. Related to a platform we have to integrate economic development, transportation engineering, and other data sources to plot transportation needs and engineering decisions now and into the future based on more data. We also had the Smart 50 Awards. As you saw, 1 was for tax amnesty, and we're proud of them. And we also had 1 for the emergency vehicle preemption, where we've been able to reduce the average response time to fire calls by about 24 seconds per call, about a few seconds per intersection that it goes through. We had the American Planning Association Award of Merit for transportation based on that smart platform, that smart data platform I mentioned. And Oracle gave us a Modern Customer Experience Award for My San Jose, and also a sustainability award of how much paper and waste that helps the city resolve. So all great things and things that really speak to our people. What we're here to also say, though, is there's more to do, and what we're planning to do is to actually extend the 2019 plan through the end of 2020 so that we can get to those last 3 projects that we had in the original plan, and accounting for all the additional work that was taken on in the plan. The efforts that emerged over the course of it, some emergency events, some management items like cybersecurity we want to focus more on, 911-311 transition, and those new projects that were in there, plus a big policy. For the next IT plan, I want to give you kind of a glimpse of where we're going to go, is we're going to build around the city manager's 8 enterprise priorities. We have the community equity, climate, and innovation themes from council and in the community that have become very important. And then acting on the tech deployment audit that we received direction from this group and from council on is making the investments and the effectiveness of our projects higher and better, and optimizing those IT resources. So we are going to act on that as part of the next IT strategic plan. And with that, we also have some lessons that we're learning. And we're going to partner with Harvard Business School community partners to do some of the initial analysis. We're going to convene a new IT advisory board to help us vet that new strategic plan. But the lessons that we're learning that we're going to incorporate into this are iterative projects have been our most successful in the city. When we've taken on projects, we've been highly successful at them, but our portfolio is roughly 80% of those being iterative and about 20% being very transformative. The very transformative ones, the ones that reach across departments, are still ones we struggle on, and we want to be honest about that. Part of that is because of the staffing contentions. There's a core group of people who do a lot of the most exceptional work, and when you pull them off the line, but say you still have to do your normal day-to-day work, but also be a part of this big project, it can be quite hard. And so when we go into these projects, IT is going to be an advocate and hopefully hold the line on, if we want to do these transformative projects well, we're going to resource and build them appropriately so that they maximize their chance of success. And then getting to a re-engineering culture where we do get iterative and we don't call a project done and then step away and stop investing, but to say these are product lines and we want permitting to stay healthy. We want 911-311 to keep on getting better. We want to see how we do HR hiring and keep on investing and making that talent management better. These things are products, not just projects. And then the San Jose departments do work together. I've been in 4 other cities and at the state level, and this is the most cooperative organization I've ever seen. We don't talk about our fiefdoms very much at all, and where there's a mission for the city, we pitch in. And I just want to call out the city for having that great attribute, and it's one that our peers, and Jerry actually was a colleague from Hennepin County, Minnesota, before we tricked him into coming here. But that's one of the things that he talked about is that innovation mentality and the willing to cooperate isn't something you see everywhere. And then success follows a few amazing people. We do have some just tremendous people. You've heard from a couple earlier. You've seen them at the Dias. But that tribe of exceptional folks just makes so much of a difference to the community that you often don't realize. On the optimization question, when you build an IT portfolio, budget plus purchasing plus staffing plus support plus how you manage your projects all matter together. And if you're hurting on any one of those, it hurts across the spectrum. Tech debt still holds us back. We'll keep on making those investments. But heading forward, there's a couple big things that we're going to be shaping our services and our technology portfolio around, including artificial intelligence and security plus privacy. The need to invest in some unifying platforms that help us skill up in some areas that do a lot of things for the organization rather than buying one of a lot of solutions. And as we said throughout this last 3 years, is everything is powered by people. Just want to I guess I should have said thank you for your support, but maybe I went Yoda on you. For your support, thank you. But on the right side, you can see some of the people that we've been able to celebrate. So from Lillian Ho and Fire, Joseph and Fire, for the CEVP project that actually saves lives and reduces morbidity, to the data efforts, and you have transportation there, to the Vice Mayor and I got to accept the #2 award for Digital Cities, to the IT team at the bottom. This is always powered by people, and hopefully we've made a difference that you can be proud of. So with that, if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them.
All right, we had a public speaker, but I don't think he's here anymore. Councilmember Davis? Or Vice Mayor Jones?
Oh, I just wanted to say that was a very comprehensive, very impressive report, and literally you should just pull up the microphone, drop it, and just walk out the chamber. So there you go. No, it was really an outstanding job that you're doing, and the progress that you and your team have made is just, this is really impressive. And I was just telling my colleague that you're going to be with us for the next 20, 30 years because we can't afford to lose you.
Oh.
So we respect and admire your leadership.
Thank you.
And I guess the only question I have is that on the iceberg image, what's the significance of the angry-looking jellyfish? That's my only question that I have.
I just wanted to seem ominous. There's no other. I actually had to look for the jellyfish, but or the octopus or whatever it was. But I said, how does it look darker? And so I added that.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Davis.
Rajani, did you have something?
No, I did want to add, and I'm not sure if this was the right time, but I'll go for it. We wanted to cross-reference this particular presentation for an upcoming council meeting on March 24th. So I just want to put that out there as to part of your approval.
Motion.
Yeah, motion.
Yep. I will move that when I make the motion. I agree. You've been clearly very, very busy in the last few years. I love seeing all those. I'm one of those list makers, and I love seeing all the check marks on your list. It's awesome. Clearly, this has impacted many, many departments. Do you have a sense, and this would be a question for Kip if he was here, so Rajani, you're going to get to answer this probably. How are the other departments reacting to all of this IT change, since it impacts all of the other departments? This is kind of and we've talked about this, Rob, many times with customer service in particular, but we change the business practices when we change the platforms. Mm-hmm. So just curious overall how the IT updates and the reorganization of the IT department and the strategic plan has impacted the other departments and their cultures.
I'll speak to what I've been experiencing with just overseeing the Smart City Roadmap program. I mean, particularly, everyone's very enthusiastic. I mean, they have a sense of purpose. They're very focused in delivering because they ultimately want to better serve the community. And any technology improvement is just a breath of fresh air. When they can go to the app and buy something from their house and get it within an hour, but to serve our community, it takes a month, right? So I think in that sense, people are just really excited to support that level of service and improve. But I'm sure, Rob, you're also experiencing similar situations.
Well, and the council member, yeah, we've had some of those discussions where the re-engineering of the business process hasn't been as coherent as maybe we would have liked, and there's been a fall through. And I think structurally there is an outlying question. And so if the first IT strategic plan was about paying off tech debt and getting healthy so we could be transformative, this next one is going to be about the transformative piece of how do we do this in a way that we can marry up those pieces and do that process reengineering better and do the resource allocation and optimization better, but also keeping high focus on the results that the businesses need. I'll be honest with you, absolutely, sometimes everyone's been on board with the concept. Occasionally there's, hey, that's mine. And it does come up, it's natural. And how we make some of those discussions, it's nice to have a deputy city manager kind of break those ties at time, and that was part of the structure that we implemented. But same as the direction that council gave and the committee and council have given us around the IT tech deployments audit, there's a lingering question there about how do we make those things even better, even cleaner, even smarter.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really think, I know the tech piece is hard. I think the making sure everyone in the organization has a customer-centric mindset. As you said, the technology is supposed to free up people for that. I think we're still not quite there on that one. And I almost think that's a heavier lift because changing mindset is hard. I mean, we all know how hard it is to change, even a small habit like getting up a little bit earlier to do a gratitude journal or whatever.
Or for me, exercise.
Yeah, I don't even go there. I cannot make myself do that in the morning. I had one more question about the org chart where you had the positions in oval that don't exist. Are those open positions that are funded or not funded positions?
Mostly not funded positions, and that's just trying to keep in balance with the organization and as the budget process goes on. Most of those, we've filled in a number of these where the positions did not exist before, but they are non-existent, not just vacant.
Okay. The one that, of course, caught my attention with that and why I asked that question is we've done, just in the time I've been here, so my time coincides with the strategic plan time, our cybersecurity has made leaps and bounds, and then I see advanced proactive defenses is not something that we don't have anybody on that, so that was the one that stood out most for me, as well as having the e-government services officer. Those are the two. I don't know what your priorities are in terms of funded positions, but those were the two that kind of stuck out for me as being the ones that we should fund first if we
Very fair.
If we have
and I'll add on the
additional funding.
The advanced proactive, our design is to actually do that as a service. When we look at the cost of cybersecurity personnel in the area, there's almost no way we're going to be able to staff it consistently.
Yeah.
So Marcella's and my strategy is we're going to service this one. That box will be filled by basically a contract liaison.
Okay. Thank you.
But thank you for the input.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's helpful to know. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I know how long it took us to get a security officer, right? Yeah. It was very difficult, especially right here where we are.
And he's amazing. I'll give him a plug. He's not even here. He's securing something.
He's off securing something. That's great. I think I just wanted you to know I really appreciate the what we are learning slide. I think that's really helpful to kind of see where we are, what we have left, and I appreciate the AI being on there. I think one of the things And again, I know this isn't a technology, even though it's technology related. One of the items that isn't on here is the customer-centric mindset shift, because that is going to be knowing it's a heavy lift, knowing it's not something you can put out an RFP for. It's something that we can't lose focus on, because we can have all the greatest software in the world, but if we're not getting back to people, you and I have had this conversation many times. The My San Jose app is, and the issue with it still being read is the fact that the vast majority of our residents, the only time they come to the city, the only time interface they have with the city is the My San Jose app or the permitting center. Those are really the two places where the vast majority of people are not calling our offices. They're not emailing in. They don't know who works in DOT. Some of my residents do all of those things. But the vast majority of people don't. They know about My San Jose. They want their garbage picked up. They want their streets cleaned. And if we're not getting those things right, the things that really touch every single resident, then we have an image problem. So those are the things that, and calling 311, I think a lot of people, if they don't know about the My San Jose app, they'll call 311 for things like, there's a swing broken at the park. So I really think it's important to get those, like we say, our websites, our digital front door, those front doors as perfect as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have no questions because the 100 slides was very thorough. So
Wait till
anyways.
council.
So can we get a motion to accept the report and cross-reference this to the March 24th council meeting? All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, it passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we have open forum. But I have no cards, so meeting adjourned.